Hello, everyone. It's always a pleasure being here. I've seen this forum grow. I was impressed by the level of the discussions yesterday and today. All this, I must say, where there is a will, there is a way. And Rob Pittinger's had that will. He made it possible. I'm simply impressed. I'm also glad to be here to see colleagues and friends from the FIU Egmont group, but also broader. I'm here. Ella kind of set the stage at the macro level. I will get into the weeds of a couple of points here. First of all, illicit finance is vast and growing. It's all about this, right? And according to the United Nations, we can consider that between 2 to 5 trillion USD is being laundered every year. So it's a huge number, you know, it's difficult to figure out what does that mean. It's big, this is the idea. But interestingly, and I think John extensively talked about the money that is laundered through trade-based money laundering, let's say, and which represents a big amount of the money that is laundered. I would call it traditional money laundering. And interestingly, I think it's Senator Rubio yesterday who said, we are 20th century people and we are tackling new things that we were not prepared to tackle. And here I'm talking about the Web3. I was happy to see Yaya Fanoussi this morning talking about crypto and stuff. And here I will go a little further. I'm talking about Web3. I don't know to what extent you're familiar with this. It is crypto, but it includes also NFTs. It includes decentralized finance, which is called DeFi. And we see more and more money laundered through that space, this Web3 space, which has nothing to do with what we know, the traditional banking system. I want to give you an example. At some point, I was fed up with watching endless PowerPoints on crypto. And I thought, gosh, how to get to know that? So I decided to open an account on Coinbase. And I bought Bitcoins, well, the 3 generations of cryptos, okay? So it's Bitcoin generation 1, it's Ethereum generation 2, Solana generation 3, okay? I bought for $50. That was the cost of the knowledge. I started receiving small amounts of crypto. $1, $2, $3. It was interesting because I discovered first that it's not easy to send money or to receive money. It's not necessarily cheap, doesn't necessarily go fast. So that was my first understanding of that space. Then I got to the next level, which was to, instead of buying an NFT, you know, non-fungible token, it's those stupid images of monkeys and stuff, and people at some point were buying that $1 million, okay? So I thought, instead of buying, I will create my own NFT. And this is what I did. So I took the drawing of my 7-year-old son. You can see here, it's a little difficult to see from the bottom. It's just a dragon, a red dragon. I scanned it, put it on OpenSea, which is the worldwide market for NFTs, and I put it 3 Ethereum.
You got $1 million?
And I got nothing. I got nothing, Mariano. The thing is, I would be a professional money launderer. I would get along with other professional money launderers. I would put it 1 million USD or 1 million Ethereum. Another person would buy it. Okay, this is a beautiful and very simple way of launder money. You don't need to go through banks. You don't need to go through all that. You can launder a lot of money. And why that? And it's cheap. It's not that risky. And I will explain why. Because Let's imagine I would have done that. Then who would have detected this? Who would have reported that? Who would have analyzed that information? Who would have sent that to law enforcement? What law enforcement agency would have investigated this? What prosecutor would have worked on it and maybe, try to indict anyone? Nobody's doing that. Nobody. So the second level of that space, this Web3, what I call NFT, is very promising in terms of money laundering, unfortunately. The third level of discovery, let's say, was the decentralized finance. Basically, you don't need a bank. I'm ready to lend money. Some people need money to borrow. It's decentralized through smart contracts. It is a very complex environment. It took me hours, dozens of hours to try to understand how I could basically borrow money, for example, and from who. And the idea of decentralized finance is you don't know who you are borrowing from. You don't know who you are lending money to, okay? But this is the principle, it's the concept. In reality, there are ways to know who you are borrowing money from. So basically, again, a very good way, let's say, to launder money. So now I come back to the illicit finance. I would say it is urgent to tackle, to fight money laundering, to track, and to confiscate, because there's one thing that criminals don't like is to go to jail. But there is one thing that they hate even more, is when we are able to take their money away from them. The third one, of course, is it can generate a good fight against money laundering, can generate resources that can be used to address the social problems that were caused by criminal organizations. Ella explained what Egmont does, what FIUs do, and it's a lot about FIU to FIU cooperation. Sometimes, and I want to say it because there are some people who have a law enforcement experience here, it's also possible to have law enforcement of country A asking its own financial intelligence unit to contact another financial intelligence unit to get information from that other countries. It's what we call diagonal cooperation. So there is finance, FIU to FIU cooperation, but there is also diagonal cooperation. A couple of points to conclude. First, Egmont doesn't work in silos of excellence, an expression that Rob likes very much, and I like it, silos of excellence. We don't work on silos of excellence. We work with FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, the policy maker in terms of money laundering and counterterrorism standards. A very powerful organization, and so far not that known by the public, surprisingly. But also Interpol, everybody knows about Interpol. They're celebrating their 100-year anniversary. And with them, we have been issuing reports on cyber-enabled fraud. There was a lot about cyber and fraud yesterday and today. And we have also worked on the abuse of virtual assets for terrorism financing purposes. To conclude, I think I'm sure it's Ella who flagged that the 170 financial intelligence units in the world, they receive every year 600 million reports from banks, insurance, reporting entities. They process that. There is an international cooperation component, and financial intelligence units exchanged and worked on more than 23,000 cases over the year. What is striking, though, and I'm talking to the parliamentarians that you are, is that in 2023, if you aggregate the number of FIU staff of the 170 FIUs that are dedicated to analyzing information, you get 4,500 full-time equivalent, 4,500 people that are in those 170 financial intelligence units. This is less than the compliance department of one global bank. So I say it again. The total number of analysts in your financial intelligence units, this is 4,500 people, and the compliance department of one single global bank has more than 4,500 people. It underlines a critical problem, which is FIUs are chronically under-resourced. So I am asking you, parliamentarians, to, when you go back home, take a look at your financial intelligence unit. See if they have the IT resources to tackle what I was talking about, the Web3. Do they have the financial resources? Do they have the HR resources? Do they have the powers? And also, do they have the FIU's the autonomy to operate and handle cases? And my wish is that you take a look at that, especially in the upcoming budget proposal that will happen in your countries. I thank you very much for your attention.